Good morning, good morning, good morning again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We are going back to that horrible world known as the JRC. Before we do, the usual disclaimers are not going to be read because once again, this new computer seems to have this thing where even without touching any buttons on my headset, it will have it automatically set to mute. And I don't even notice it until after a 30-minute video has been done. And it's making me nuts. I don't like wasting time. Makes me insane. So, we're not going to get into the disclaimers. I'm going to do a brief rant in regards to all the nonsense that I've been trying to stay out of because it's not my wheelhouse. And then we're going to paraphrase everything I just did. And I am going to contemplate that I really do need to just purchase one of those body-sized punching bags. Just for occasions like this. Alright. Now, I've been avoiding the whole Diddy and Jay-Z's situation like the plague in regards to this channel. The reason of why should be fairly obvious. The things I take on are usually within the warehouse of mental health, and human rights, civil rights of disabled folk, right? So, there didn't seem to be a point in that. Until this morning, when I learned that one of those accusers that is accusing Jay-Z, apparently, did an anonymous interview. They're Jane Doe, you can't see their image. And through their story, there was apparently quite a few inconsistencies. And in trying to evade a question when responding to the interviewer, randomly threw out, well, I have autism. Allow me to tell you why that's bad. Okay? There has been this tendency for decades for people who essentially try to use your autism diagnosis as a get out of jail free card. Usually when it happens, especially when it's highly publicized by legacy media, all the rest of us have to fucking pay for it. It paints a very inaccurate image of those of us who carry this diagnosis. Okay? Stop using it as a get out of jail free card. Every time that you do, you're screwing the rest of us over, and it has real life goddamn consequences. Especially when we're talking about major media outlets discussing it ad nauseum, because folks, future employers are watching this coverage. Teachers, direct care staff, caseworkers, they're all watching this stuff. And every time this stunt gets pulled, it makes it that much goddamn harder that when there is a real scary situation for one of us, we don't even get listened to and get dismissed because somebody wanted to use their autistic get out of the jail free card. Okay? So now we have to pay the price for your bad actions or for your lies. I'm sorry, but I've got a massive bone to pick in that situation. If you don't believe why that would possibly be a problem, I want you to think about that every single fucking time there is a shooting of any kind. Somehow, at some point, us poor autistic bastards and bitches get drug into it. Now, I would like to not have this conversation again. The facts in regards to that accusation have not gotten out yet. And I'm not the kind of person that seeks to set fire to a man's house and livelihood on somebody else's say-so before I've had a chance to review evidence. At the same time, I'm not victim blaming either. At all. I am a survivor. Multiple times over, I might add. But when those who come forward in bad faith use the autism get out of jail free card, that is the very reason why, circa 2014, when I was kicked out on the street at 3 a.m. in the morning, in the middle of January, with ice on the road, why the decision was made that I was not going to report the incident any further or try to legally take on said X and his sister. Because I knew, because people like that I wasn't going to be believed. It was already difficult to be believed. But now people using that as the get out of jail free cards, it's essentially fucked us all over. Now, this person may be telling the truth, but in regards to the subject at hand, during this interview, they just threw the autism diagnosis in there, like completely randomly, in a way that did not relate at all to the discussion being had. It was used as a kind of way to evade the question. Alright, now before I dig myself into an even deeper hole than I'm already in this morning, I'm just going to give you the trigger warnings. We got to jump back in because, yeah, once again, I'm mad at myself because my computer has decided it wants to mute me until otherwise. Folks, when we talk about places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center or Agape Boarding School for Boys, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of, catch clips or surveillance footage of people with mental health issues, disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please use your headphones. Trigger warning 2, this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. As obviously you've seen today, we do use profanity on occasion and speak on dark subjects. So if your kid is 16 and younger and watching this, very obviously parental supervision is very much advised. So I'm going to paraphrase again. God, I'm so irritated. That the JRC is essentially using in the next paragraph the same thing they've been using for decade upon decade. And in spite of its repeated use, it doesn't make any more sense now than it has all the other millions upon millions of times that they've tried to use it as an argument in regards to the safety of the GED device. And what is that? But the Massachusetts courts says. And see, they upheld our consent decree, so we can do whatever we want. We can torture you, destroy you psychologically, and we should be able to do that because the court says. I try not to be violent, but it's shit like this that should make those evil sons of bitches who continue to champion this program are far away from me. Because, yeah, this is the sort of shit that makes me want to grab you by the back of your head and slam you repeatedly into the pavement. Okay? Let's review the most obvious thing of all. Judges go to law school. They do not go to medical school, they go to law school. So their opinions in regards to the safety and regards to effectiveness in regards to the GED is completely, utterly irrelevant and useless and not worth the poor trees that had to die to print this on. It's very simple. Number two, we all know that the JRC has had their hands around the neck of the Massachusetts courts since forever. The level of corruption, the cover-ups. Quite frankly, I've never really seen anything like it. You know? But here's the thing, kids. Well, obviously they found it to be right, so it's safe, and you shouldn't have a leg to stand on is not a fucking argument. Because the judge goes to law school. They do not go to medical school. So anything that they feel in regards to the safety and effectiveness of the GED is completely irrelevant to the subject at hand. We understand that it's legal, JRC. That's the whole point of why we're doing this in the first place. Just because something is legal does not make it good, right, or in a child's best interest. Frontal lobotomies used to be standard of care. Okay? Massachusetts, in particular, when you want to talk about the motherlode of judges getting it wrong, the Salem witch trials. If we were to use JRC logic here, then what they would say is, well, no, obviously the judge said, so they were all witches and they deserve to be hanged. Right? That is the same type of logic that the JRC wants us to run with in regards to the judges of the Massachusetts court have upheld our consent decree and have this little paper where they signed that said it is safe and effective and therefore it's true. Because it's garbage, folks. It's 100% garbage. And you have to forgive me for thinking a device is actually not safe or effective when we know for a fact and have plenty of documentation showing that those who were stuck on that for an extended period of time would lose feeling in the areas where the electrodes are being stuck on their body. A device that can and has done second and third degree burns and have left bruises all over the body. Just because it's legal doesn't make it safe. I kind of feel like I have a bullhorn. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. Just because it's legal doesn't mean it's safe. Period. Period. In regards to what the courts say, we know that the JRC has had a complete stranglehold on the Massachusetts courts ever since they first ran out of California and set up shop in Massachusetts. Okay? Quit using that argument. Judges get shit wrong all the goddamn time. That is literally why an appeals process actually exists. Quit using it as an excuse. And the reason why they do so, folks, is because they do not have any professional experts outside of the JRC willing to back their insanity in regards to the safety of the device. There is no one that's an expert out there in St. Louis coming forward to defend the JRC and saying, no, actually, this is actually quite safe. They can't. Because none of them, they all refuse. Literally all refuse. And remember, we're talking about one of those places being Yale. The folks that like to try to use radiation to give us, like, a new version of frontal lobotomies. And they are citing ethical concerns. Okay? They use the courts and say, look, this documentation said this is the standard in care and all of that, because it's the only thing they have. To this day, there has not been a singular expert outside of the JRC that has come forward in any meaningful way to back their insanity. So they use that court, they use that consent decree, because it's the only thing they have to go on. Which is sad and ridiculous. Alright, folks. We're going to go ahead and close out here. I know I just kind of paraphrased it, but essentially what they were trying to do with the 44-day trial in regards to consent decree is use that as a license to abuse people, because look what the court says. They do so because nobody within their own field that is outside of the JRC is willing to back them, or even to attempt to try to do a proper clinical study with proper controls, citing ethical concerns, and a feeling of violating their civil and human rights. This is all they got. Right, we're going to close out. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few we do tend to get removed from time to time. Please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe. Please don't forget to utilize the comments. I appreciate your time. As always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea do hope you have a good one. I'll see you all later. Bye-bye, everyone.